Thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to talk about a very important topic: how to work with the men and women of law enforcement to help make your program safer. You know, there are over 1,800 law enforcement agencies in the United States and just over about a million law enforcement officials. Not only do these individuals put their lives on the line to protect us every single day, but they also represent a tremendous amount of knowledge in crime prevention and safety. During today's course, we're going to talk about how best to engage with the law enforcement community. This course is going to cover a wide variety of training objectives. Let's take a look at some of the learning objectives we have for this module. Describe the typical law enforcement response to an active shooter or active threat situation. Identify at least 2 ways to engage with law enforcement in your preparedness activities. Describe the priorities of law enforcement during an active shooter or active threat incident. Identify at least 3 situations where law enforcement early engagement would be beneficial. Describe the type of information and documents that can assist law enforcement. Identify how your program can use law enforcement as a deterrent for crime and violence. Define at least 3 ways that you can assist law enforcement during an incident. Describe the expectations that law enforcement officials will have for early childhood staff during an incident or a situation. Identify how law enforcement will interact with early childhood staff in the various response options, including running, hiding, or fighting during an active shooter incident. We're very happy to be joined today by an expert with over 20 years of law enforcement experience. Ron has been a law enforcement official for over 20 years. He's served in a wide variety of capacities, from a beat officer to a detective to a watch commander to a sergeant. He's trained with law enforcement agencies across the country and was one of the first certified DARE officers, providing drug abuse resistance education for those in the K-12 school system. Ron has been working full-time with the Institute of Childhood Preparedness and has helped train over 18,000 early childhood professionals across 20 states in safety and active shooter response protocols. Ron provides that critical linkage between the first responder and law enforcement communities and early childhood. Ron is on site with early childhood programs on a weekly basis, helping them think about safety and security measures through on-site site safety inspections. He's also one of the lead developers of the active shooter curriculum. It's my great privilege to turn this over to Ron, who's going to lead us through the course today.
Let's start with some historical background on how police respond to an active shooter incident. Law enforcement is continually changing and modifying their methods in their ongoing fight against crime. Law enforcement uses numerous studies to improve their methods and effectiveness. Currently, no one type of incident gets more review and study than active shooter events or active threat events. Police have gone all the way back to April of 1999 to review the tragedy which occurred at Columbine High School in Colorado. As you may recall, there were 2 shooters inside the school, and SWAT did not arrive for 47 minutes.
Begin active shooter is a tactic now employed by almost every police agency in America, and it means do not wait. It's a reaction to the Columbine massacre 13 years ago, when dozens of officers waited 46 minutes outside as the shooting continued and at least 1 victim bled to death. Captain Drew Tracy, then with the Montgomery County Police in Maryland, was incensed by Columbine and helped invent the active shooter tactics used today.
We have to go where we hear the sounds of shots. We have to go where the broken glass is, where we see the casings on the ground. But we need to corner that thread so that individual or individuals cannot take more life.
Now the mindset is, in the minds of the police, not 1 more victim.
Exactly.
After Columbine, police operations were transformed. By 2007, Virginia Tech police were trained to go straight toward the gunfire. Just this week, police used the same no-wait procedures at the mall shooting in Oregon. Under the rules, when the shooter has been stopped, then the rescue begins. Some of the Sandy Hook surviving children were led away in an organized line, each one grasping the shoulders of the child in front, their faces revealing both relief and fear.
Our main objective was to evacuate as quickly and efficiently as possible any and all students and faculty in the school.
This go first tactic is now so ingrained in the police, it's become standard training. But Scott, when police train, they're told to expect this at perhaps a mall, maybe even a high school. They do not expect to go to a grade school.
Back in 1999, it was accepted police practice to view these events as hostage incidents and for the patrol officer to wait for the SWAT team to arrive to make entry. Police learned that even in large cities, it takes far too long to wait for the SWAT team to arrive where there is a shooter inside the building with innocent children and adults. Lives are being lost, and police have changed their response to minimize the loss of life. In this course, we'll review how police respond to your facility and what steps you can do to aid them before and during the event.